On June 16th, Super Saturday celebrates 29 years at the Evergreen State College. Super Saturday is the one-day festival for all ages, featuring entertainment, arts and crafts, community groups, events for kids, and great food. Super Saturday is free and open to the public. From noon to 5 p.m., the Chaos 89.3 FM Super Saturday stage will feature Latin and jazz music. Located in the amphitheater area by the Campus Recreation Center, the stage, hosted by Chaos on-air personalities, will feature Juan Manuel Barco, Trumbanga, Native Blue, and Bevy. That's the KAOS 89.3 FM Super Saturday stage, Saturday, June 16th at the Evergreen State College Olympia campus. Dizzy Gillespie's classic Manteca. Of course, that's my favorite version because that was when they decided to make their statement about segregation with the line, "I'll never go back to Georgia," with that opening rhythm. Welcome to John's Place. So glad you could be here tonight. I'm John. This here is my place. We'll be at it till 8-ish when Chris Craig comes in for the Pacific Progressive. Then 9 p.m. Martha Copeland comes in for Music from the Underground. My buddy, the original Long Strange Trip, will be here. Finally, of course, Seamus O'Reilly for all your metal needs with his show, Excuse All the Blood. So if you can't find a reason to stay at Chaos, you're not trying. It's just that simple. We have guests in the house tonight. Joining us is some of the members of Olympia's own. You know them, you love them. You can't live without them. Native Blue. To that, I'm going to bring in my new friend, Richard Lopez, trombonist extraordinaire. Evening, Richard. Oops, hang on, wrong button. Hang on a second. One moment. Let's try that. That's much better. There we go. Everybody's there now.
See?
And tell us who you brought with you, Richard. Stop that.
Okay.
I know that routine. I do that to new kids all the time.
I try to fake you out on that one. All right, I have myself. Now, who am I again? Oh, yeah,
Lopez.
That's right.
Alan Ludden, and we're all here to play Password Plus. Happy?
Drew Gibbs, Mr. Biggs, as stated by Northwest Jazz Profile, and our pianist.
Who knew?
And then there's Nick Johnson, who is our just marvelous bassist.
As opposed to your not marvelous bassist?
Aw, shucks.
We've had a few of those, but we're lucky to have... No, never. But we've had Nick for this year, first year, and he's just turning it out.
Well, it's a nice fat sound you bring out of that sextet. There's no two ways about it. Matter of fact, why don't we just cut to the chase and let the folks hear what we're babbling about for a second.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let these mics go away for a second while you sit at home comfortably and enjoy the fabulous, and I mean fabulous sounds of Native Blue right here on Chaos. Now that's what I'm talking about. That is Native Blue, ladies and gentlemen, and that is why they are our guests this evening. Nicely done, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Nice.
from the eventually coming album, yet to be named.
Well, we've been thinking about a few names, but actually that track is hot off the press. Last night it was mixed in the studio, so
Wow.
First time I heard it.
And
Yeah.
you shared it with our listeners. That was gracious of
that's
you.
a first listen on that.
Well, it must be time for the origin story of Native Blue.
Well, it's kind of a group that evolved from an earlier group about 6 years ago. It was the Olympia Jazz Sextet. And the members of that group were just well-known Olympia musicians. Steve Bentley was a part of that, who's also a part of Native Blue this time. But we had Sid Potter, Dan Blanc, Steve Lucino, and the great late Bob Nixon on piano back at that time.
Indeed.
And so in the past couple of years, Steve and I were talking about putting together another form of the sextet. And then last June, it just kind of all come together. We brought on Barry Caldwell, who is just a marvelous jazz trumpet player, kind of a new guy coming on the scene. And Mark Thome, who's playing tenor sax with us, just a marvelous composer and arranger who's doing a lot of work in our local area and also on the national scene as well.
Well, it's amazing just how rich an area the Pacific Northwest is for both jazz and blues. I mean, I've told someone if you can't find a joint doing something live along the I-5 corridor, get your glasses out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, someone's doing a gig somewhere. And we've got tons and tons of talent. It's astonishing.
It's goofy.
I mean, I'm from Western New York. We ain't too shabby in the Niagara Falls, Buffalo area. Don't
Mhm.
misunderstand me, but this is impressive.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you got the group together. You started to record some tracks now. I know you're in some of the regular bands over at Trospers.
Yeah.
That's sort of your resident stomping grounds here.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're there this Wednesday coming up.
Yeah, and our
What, 7 to 10?
friends Bevy are going to be there on Monday, as a
Mhm.
matter of fact.
Yeah, absolutely. Mhm.
And, of course, Richard was there over the weekend with yet another fine group, Trombanga.
Yeah, Trombanga is just another hot salsa Latin jazz group. We were there at Cinco de Mayo, and you know, Trospers is a new venue that's kind of trying to develop a new jazz culture scene. Obviously, we just lost the Spar recently, and just kind of displaced a large jazz audience. And so hopefully what we're doing over at Trospers and, bringing in some jazz, some local groups, and try to harvest what was lost back then and bring in kind of a new jazz culture. I mean, Trospers is doing a lot. They've got Joe Bach coming in and playing. They had Gary Scott last month, who's a marvelous saxophonist. And then Pete Chrisley is going to be in a couple of weeks over there. So there's really a lot of great live music happening, and boy, Native Blue, we're just thrilled to be a part of this new scene that's happening in all places Tumwater. So
Well, it looks like the Trospers and the Art House are picking up the slack in the wake
Yeah.
of
Oh,
the...
yeah.
And I see Steve's going to be there shortly, backing up Miss Jessica Williams.
Yeah,
Boy,
absolutely.
that ain't too dusty a gig.
no, that is sharp.
Well,
That's
Steve,
very
he's
good.
also backing up Pete Chrisley, isn't he?
Oh yeah.
Is he?
Yeah. So
Pete
Steve-
Chrisley, one of a national and international saxophonist
Yeah.
of great repute.
Well, let's get into some of the stuff as individuals. I'll start with Nick and work my way across. For those watching your radio, we're going left to right, so stare really hard at the speakers.
please make me as nervous as possible.
No, I just want to know how long you've been at it and when the bug bit you to do jazz, who the artists are that move you and inspire you. That's all.
Sure. Well,
Be yourself, man.
I guess I started playing my junior year at PLU. I started playing jazz. I had played bass a little bit before in high school in a blues band, but never really got into it. But there was a new jazz director at PLU at the time. It was his first year, and his name is David Joyner. He's still there. He and the new bass teacher at the time there, whose name is Paul Gabrielson, who's a wonderful musician as well as a bass player, both got me into jazz. I just wanted to start playing bass, and they pushed a little bit for me to pick up the upright bass instead of playing electric, and I never really looked back from there. I don't know. I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure how I got bitten by the disease, but it overtook me pretty quickly, and that was 6 years ago in January. So I guess I've been playing for about 6 years now, and just listened to a lot of different artists. I don't know. I like everybody. So.
Well, I got a treat for later on. They just reissued the Complete America session of Charles Mingus in Paris from 1970.
Charles who? Oh,
Yeah.
That guy. Yeah, that unknown guy. Yeah, him.
Well, yeah.
So,
he's
little surprise from one of the European labels on a reissue, so we were quite pleased to get our paws on it.
well, we were just all blown away and totally inspired recently when Dave Holland was here with his
Oh,
band.
yeah,
I
he
mean,
tore it up.
One of the greatest bassists of ever, currently going right now.
And
too.
I like it. He can work in whatever box he's tossed into. Some cats can only work in the straight ahead. Some guys can only do the box.
Yeah.
If it's got a note, Dave can deal.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
He won't let himself be pigeonholed. I think that's what his hallmark is as an artist.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Well, that brings us over to Drew, the keyboardist.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Well, how'd you start this mess?
Oh, gosh. Well, do you want the short version? Yes.
It's only a 2-hour show.
It was a standard story. 5th grade, I started in band, public school band. I played trumpet all the way through and still do. So through public schools and, wind ensembles, concert bands, and then I got into jazz band in high school. And, was inspired by, I listened to rock, I listened to the Scorpions and Black Sabbath and all that. And then, so I came to jazz through more popular styles. For trumpet in high school, it's very common that Maynard Ferguson would inspire you. So I was into Maynard big time, Doc Severinsen, and I'm sure I heard Wynton and Miles at that time and didn't care one way or the other about it. My ears, were not...
Wasn't time yet.
Wasn't time, apparently. So, but, just through that, I think Freddie Hubbard was maybe my first, quote-unquote inside or straight-ahead jazz inspiration. And then...
Oh, you can't go wrong there. I mean, to be honest, I almost started the show with Super Blue.
Oh,
So that's my personal favorite Freddie Hubbard.
I don't think I've heard that one.
It's a great album, and it's
Yeah.
got a bass run in it that will not let you go. I mean, it just grabs you.
Oh no, he's one of the greatest. He swings harder than anybody, and it's just killer. But anyway, and I picked up the piano in college when I took a piano class, and then I was my grades were steadily declining at Washington State, and so I ended up with my mother going to New York for a few months, and wasn't doing a whole lot, but I ended up taking some piano lessons just out of a loss for anything better to do, really, with a really good player in New York who's still there. He's on the scene. His name's Mike Holliber, but he gave me some really good foundational chording lessons that I practiced a bit while I was there, just learning around all 12 keys as we practice music and jazz. You learn patterns and chord progressions in all 12 keys, and so I started doing that, and that really helped me a lot to get into piano, and then just listening to the greats that we all listen to in jazz, like Herbie Hancock and Chick and McCoy and all these great players. But there's plenty around here to listen to too.
Well, I was going to say, any neighborhood that sports Joe Bach as a resident ain't doing too badly in this life.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're talking with Native Blue here on John's Place. It's 8:34, and I do want to continue, but I also want to let you know that always a bit of business in this business, isn't there? Now, I'm extra glad to have you tonight, Richard, because actually the very first live jazz act I ever caught outside of Western New York was at the Village Vanguard with Slide Hampton and his World of Trombone.
Oh, yeah.
Melba Liston. I mean, it tore my head off, I want to tell you.
Oh.
And I admit it, I came into it originally thinking, all right, there's J.J. Johnson, this guy. But then again, it's just a trombone. All right, I was ignorant and I was wrong. I will say it publicly. I was wrong.
Well, on behalf of all the trombone players of the universe, we gladly accept your apology. No. It's, trombone has been very, very good to me. But I have to say that I also started in the 5th grade, but actually I wanted to play trumpet, but the band director didn't have any trumpets, thank God, and said, well, we've got a trombone left. You want to try that? And I said, yeah, sure, I'll give it a try. But, ever since then, it's been history. But I think that I have to give my dad a lot of credit because my family, at a very young age, we used to live in Chicago, and he was a tenor saxophonist back in the day. And in the 50s and 60s, he had his own quartet as a house band at a premier hotel, and used to open up for groups like Count Basie and Stan Kenton. And so he was around a lot of jazz at that time. So as I was growing up, I heard a lot of jazz in the household. And we moved to Denver, and I grew up in the Denver public school system, which really had a strong music program. And some of my classmates were like Greg Gispert and Javon Jackson. Javon obviously going to the Art Blakey Jazz Messengers in the late 80s. So there was a really, I grew up in a very strong jazz, musically influenced culture, and went to school in Vegas, and then was surrounded by another just large community of jazz musicians. So probably in school, in high school, I was listening to like Wayne Henderson of the Jazz Crusaders, and obviously J.J. Johnson and some Slide Hampton, and went over to Vegas for school there, and heard a lot of Carl Fontana, which had a pretty powerful impact on me. And so that's pretty much how the journey for me as a jazz trombonist went along. And then moved up here in the Northwest in about 96. And just loving the jazz community here. A lot of great jazz musicians in the Olympia area. I'm just so impressed with what's going on here.
Well, I tell you, I mean, the late spar notwithstanding, I wondered for years, I've been here like 14 years now, why haven't we got like jazz joints in Olympia?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, it's amazing. And we had the Spar for so long, and they were so excellent to have jazz every Saturday night for, I don't know, maybe 20 years. Maybe not quite that long.
Roughly.
And they were always excellent. But, just to, shamelessly plug, I mean, Trosper's, they have jazz every Wednesday, every Monday, and then they have music Friday and Saturday of different styles as well.
I know they're doing some salsa this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Salsa. Great salsa bands. But also the Art House, like you say, Steve Bentley's bringing in great people. Tonight, down at the Southern Kitchen. You're hungry. Everybody out
Another
there,
place
you're getting hungry.
Coming out of nowhere. Pleasantly surprising.
Absolutely. Every Friday, they have jazz. In fact, Dan Blanc is down there tonight. The trio.
Yep, indeed. And that's a good place to remind you that, you hear us talking about live music. Well, if y'all don't get on support, it ain't going to stay alive too long. Right. It's as simple as that. Most of the local gigs don't hit you for much of a cover, if any. Trust me when I tell you, you're going to leave feeling like you got more than when you walked in.
Right.
Yeah.
Your heart will not leave empty-handed. I guarantee it. Let's hear some more Native Blue, and then we'll have some more Things to Come. Strangely enough, that's the title of Things to Come. Native Blue, 89.3 FM, right here, right now. Things to Come. We're here live in the studio with Richard Lopez, Drew Gibbs, and Nick Johnson of Native Blue. Nice track, guys.
Thanks a lot. Actually, I think the tracks got switched. That was actually Moon Alley.
It was then. You fooled us.
It was that's originally written by Tom Harrell, but that arrangement was made possible by Sid Potter, who we failed to mention the first run around. Then Sid is another major influence and awesome jazz musician and arranger, composer, and everything else in between. So we definitely need to mention Sid. And Sid is also, we give him a lot of credit for a lot of arrangements in our book. We're a brand new group, and our first rehearsal was last June, and so we're just kind of building our book as we go along, but he gave us a lot of good material to kind of get started with, and so we owe a lot to Sid for that.
Well, that brings up a good question. How do you determine what's going to go into a set on a given gig? I mean, to me, that's the same as how do you decide what goes in the album, what goes, what stays, and what kind of process is that like for you?
Well, first we're trying to hit a certain styles and sounds that are specific to kind of the context of a sextet. Now, back in the late 30s and 40s, the traditional sound of jazz had horns traveling or moving harmonically in more of kind of a triad type feel, just basic triads all the time, or suspended fourths, resolving chords. And as you get into kind of the cool sound, Miles Davis, and then Art Blakey, the horns were starting to take a different function as far as harmonically, hitting more colored tones, close minor seconds in the chords that the horns were playing. So that was starting to become known as kind of a jazz messenger sound from the Art Blakey school of arranging. And so when we talk about Freddie Hubbard and Wayne Shorter, and then later on, kind of a post-bop, when you had the Wynton and Branford Marsalis brothers and all the other musicians that went through that period, there was a certain style of how they were arranging the horns, and the progressions, the jazz chord progressions, were being more complex. And so we're trying to pull from that genre of sound into our program, and also we're also trying to diversify more into funk and kind of a classic rock, and pulling songs like from the Doobie Brothers and Steely Dan and Stevie Wonder. And a lot of that arranging that's coming from that part of it is actually Mark Thome. He's doing a great amount of composing and arranging.
But that really is a different dynamic from, say, I've always defined jazz as this conversation between the musicians. That seems, of all the genres, that seems to be the closest one to this chat that's going on. And we, the audience, we're sort of a fly on the wall.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was thinking on the way up here, jazz is a language, and it's not just something to say about it. It is, it's just there's vocabulary involved, and you learn to speak the language, slowly or more rapidly, hopefully, because it's a big language. But then you converse with your bandmates, and you're improvising, all the time in a way. Granted, you have certain progressions that you're playing that are set, but there's a lot of improvisation. But anyway, that's a good point.
Does some of it rely a little bit on what you're getting back from the audience as well? You'll know, this one went really well, this one didn't move so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it does, and not only is the audience is important to us, but also the band itself is, an entity of its own. And
well, yeah, I mean, I think to some extent, with groups like this, to some extent you are playing for each other as well. What can I do to make my bandmates smile here?
Right.
While
Sure.
making this stuff happen.
And that makes the audience smile, because when we're having fun, the audience is having fun, and that's what you just have to remember, I think.
There's something about that energy that can't be replicated. I mean, even on a great live album, it's not quite there. Best example I ever saw that to date in a live performance, the Django Reinhardt New York Festival.
Wow.
And there's a father and son team doing the guitars, Dorado and Samson Schmidt. Two Frenchmen. Don't sound like it, but they are. And the old man's got the pencil-thin mustache going. He's doing the Django bit, and the kid's playing the rhythm guitar. Now we're down to no switch. But just watching those two guys, it's clear. Yeah, you get to listen, but they're playing for each other.
Yeah, sure.
And the sheer fun they're having reminded me so much of even the late Stefan Grappelli, who always had this childlike, beatific smile as he played. I never saw that expression on a musician before or since. It's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
But I do get that in the energy you guys put out on stage.
Nice.
And
thank you.
It shows you're rooted in the good stuff, but you've turned around and made it yours, and that's the difference. There's guys that can play someone else's licks, and there's guys who can learn from it. And you've clearly proven you've gotten that down.
Nice. Thank you.
Well, it's one of the reasons we're very happy to have you, as well as Trombonga and the earlier mentioned Bevy,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
on our Super Saturday stage on June 16th. I mean, between the Juan Barco Conjunto and you guys, this is going to be a bang-up afternoon.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, we're thrilled to be a part of that. It's gonna be fun.
It's going to be a long afternoon for you. Now, do you have to... I know that Trombonga's got a gig up north that do you have to shoot up with them that night?
Oh, I don't know. I think I'm doing 7 or 8 different gigs. No.
That's a long Saturday,
Close,
dude.
though.
Yeah. I think Trombonga's doing something up north later on that night. But hey, it's music is a lot of fun, and it's. I have to say something about Olympia as far as the musicians down here. I guess being in Olympia is kind of a blessing in that we get to kind of experiment with what we're doing in this area, the Puget Sound. Sometimes, Seattle's pretty fast. There's just an enormous amount of musicians up there, as we saw in that great photo that they just took last Sunday. It was about 200, 300 musicians come together.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with that's a lot of energy, a lot of product that's going on. But in Olympia, I don't know if we're in a bubble or something, but we get a chance to kind of experience and experiment with our own sound, and that helps us identify what our voice is. And with all the talent that's a part of this group, it's such a collective, organic, and creative spot for us, a zone to where we can just continue to experiment and not be too influenced by the fast energy pace that happens so much maybe in Seattle. It's not bad. I mean, there's a lot of great things going on, but we have a really precious area down here that allows us to be creative, to find our voice.
You're allowed to let the water find its own level here.
Right.
And that's an amazing thing. I know that's something that trombonist Steve Teray talked a lot about a couple of years ago. That's where he likes to take the record where it needs to go, as opposed to what someone thinks is the seller.
Yeah.
Just where does it need to go? What is it telling me?
Yeah, absolutely.
And of course, the results are what they are. You can never go wrong with that big guy.
Oh man.
He's physically huge.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
a
yeah.
giant guy.
Yeah.
But gets down to the music. You don't want to know nothing but the music. The size means nothing. It was due to music.
Oh, yeah. Well, the tradition is, speaking of Olympia, the tradition is alive and well here. There's so many fantastic musicians that help the younger players coming up.
I see a lot of that outreach.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a session at Bert Wilson's house that's been going on at least one a week, if not more, with all kinds of fantastic musicians for many, many years, ever since I've been here, which I moved here in '90, every week. And Chuck Stentz is there, Jack Percival has played there, Joe Bach, and then younger musicians come in too, and there's such a respect or feeling of community there, and it's totally special.
To that end, I'm curious, do you ever get the younger guys coming up to you at these gigs, trying to pick your brains, since you're already gigging, so obviously you're the pro to them?
Well, another just bright spot that's happening at Trosper's is the Jazz Senators, and they're there every first and third Monday. I know we're doing a lot of plugs, but it's just amazing that there's a lot of things going on, and what's happening with the Jazz Senators Big Band is that's comprised of your local Olympia jazz, cats, and also a lot of music teachers collectively come together, and they play, a great big band book. But a part of that is that while the Senators start their set at 7 p.m., we have local high school jazz bands coming in at 6. So there's this kind of cross-pollination going on where the high school music students get a chance to play and gain experience in a nightclub atmosphere. And then at 7 o'clock, they sit down and then they get to listen to the professional band play. And so there's such a wonderful trade-off with music and jazz education that's going on here in Olympia. And the Jazz Senators, led by Norm Wallen, is just doing a great job. It's a very exciting set, and it's great to see these young kids there listening to jazz.
Indeed. Well, I don't think it's bad. We're not really plugging so much. We're celebrating a local outfit doing something for the music community. And at that point, we'll plug a little bit. I got no shame there.
Cool.
And you can catch Native Blue on Wednesdays at Trosper's, as well as many other terrific bands. They will be there for Super Saturday. Don't miss this. You'll hate yourself if you miss Super Saturday. I'm telling you right now. That amphitheater is so nice and comfy down there.
Oh, good.
Come on down.
It's a nice. That's why we kept hung on to it. They want us to move up the main stage where the no, we like this. It's a little comfortable, like a scaled down Hollywood Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
Without Bugs Bunny, sadly, but it's going to be a great show. I thank you guys so much for coming in tonight.
Oh, yeah.
And anything else on the horizon we should let listeners know about besides the Trosper's gig?
Well, we have, we're going to be the last Music in the Park at Sylvester Park this summer. And I think that's the last Wednesday in August. So we're thrilled to have the last slot for that. And then PLU, we have a performance at Jazz Under the Stars in their kind of outdoor amphitheater there.
I'm glad they woke up over there.
And so, and if you check out our website at nativeblue.org, you will see just a long list of performances. We'll be at Olympia Farmers Market and Lacey Farmers Market. We're just thrilled to have so much activity. And places to perform.
We're certainly the
Absolutely.
richer for it, that's for sure. Well, we're going to take it out with the previously misnamed of things to come. We're going to get this last track in if it kills me, man.
Nice.
All right. Well, thanks.
And I thank you so much.
Well, thank you, John.
This is KAOS, and you're listening to Native Blue on John's Place.